The house on Whittington Road smelled like my childhood that night. Roast lamb, rosemary, a hint of that stubborn carpet powder my mum clings to even though the dog's been gone for years. Plates clattered, glasses filled to the brim with cheap red. Dad, elbows wide and voice booming, told some worn story about his own apprenticeship days. I sat at the end of the table, breathing in the comfort, the noise, and the tension already knotting beneath my ribs. This was my chance. I'd been looking for the right time all week, waiting for everyone to be in one place before I said what I needed to say. My sister Chloe sat across from me, scrolling on her phone, eyebrow cocked in habitual suspicion. Jamie, my little brother, had that cocky 16-year-old tilt to his grin. My mum hovered in and out with the gravy jug, eyes soft, mouth permanently pursed. My father, the king of this battered dining table, wore his moods like medals on his jumper. Solid, reliable, sometimes sharp, never cruel unless you counted the gutting clarity of his doubts. So harsh, Dad said, using the old-school nickname that never fit me, still chasing those pipe dreams, are we, uni all right. Met any girls or boys, whichever, who can get you off that damn computer for once? Chloe snorted. He's probably building a new robot that'll only get him more invisible online friends. She didn't even look up. There was affection somewhere deep in it. Maybe. I cleared my throat, feeling my cheeks go hot. Actually, I've been accepted onto the Churchill Fellowship. They're giving me a research grant for the AI cell integration project. Mum actually paused the way she always did before processing news she wasn't expecting. Jamie grinned wider, oblivious but supportive. Dad set down his knife, picking up his glass. The what? It's a genetics project, blending AI pattern analysis with stem cell modifications for autoimmune. Chloe made a theatrical little circle next to her head. Mad scientist bit again. Mum smiled, a tired, half-hollow thing. Oh, love, that's nice, but didn't you say before jobs like that are rare? Maybe don't you think it's better to look for something more steady, like teaching? Or coding for companies? You're so clever with computers, darling. Dad sipped his wine and eyed me. All these years, your mother and we keep telling you, dream all you want, but there's no good future in this sci-fi stuff. Look at Chloe, good job, council office, pension, steady, safe. Do you think you're smarter than the rest of the world, son? My chest burned. I watched the red patterns swirling on the lamb bone, listened to the distant clink of cutlery in the sink. Part of me wanted to laugh, another part wanted to scream. It's not just about being smart, I said quietly. I think I can really help people. Dad shrugged. Help yourself first, pay rent. It's just, well, someone's got to do a real job, haven't they? Jamie piped up. He fixed the router last week, though, Dad. That's always what it came down to, my practical usefulness. Whenever I tried to talk about my research, it slipped through their hands. Ideas scattered in the wind, and I was left grasping at empty air. The laughter that circled the table after that, Chloe's snicker, Dad's dry chuckle, made me feel like a ghost in my own home. I tried to rally. My supervisor thinks I can publish, maybe even get in on the Oxford trial team. Dad cut across. Listen, we'll always love you, Harsh, but don't come running back here asking for money when this, whatever it is, doesn't pay out. You're chasing clouds. A flush climbed my neck. I wanted to shout at him, ask why any dream outside their own narrow world had to be a threat. I wanted to shake Chloe until she saw me as more than some echo in the background. But instead I pushed my plate back, the lamb turning cold and grey in the corner untouched. My tenderness for them, the misshapen affection that shaped my childhood, started feeling almost like an insult. I'm not expecting anything from you, I said, my voice steelier than I meant. I just wanted to share some good news. The table went quiet except for the scrape of Jamie's fork. For a long minute, nobody met my eyes. That was the last meal I ate in my parents' house for nearly 8 years. I left the next morning before sunrise. Mum pressed a sandwich into my hand, her smile brittle. Call us love, she said. Don't leave us waiting, yes. But the thing about disappointment is it makes you both weightless and impossibly heavy. I carried it into my flat in Hackney, into the silent, freezing labs of London's university research corridors, into dingy lecture halls and cheap pubs with colleagues who shared my restlessness, but not my worry about where the next month's rent would come from. My little world shrank to binary code, cell samples, the hum of equipment after midnight. I hustled for every grant, every conference slot, biting back humility until my jaw ached. No one back home called. The family WhatsApp ticked over with football updates, council job complaints, Jamie's endless cycling medals. I wanted to send them photos. The day I got my badge for my first breakthrough, the tiny, glistening hamster whose type I diabetes I'd reversed, the blank-faced professors who grudgingly started inviting me to dinner. But the words died before I ever hit send. Success tasted like water, pure, clean, necessary, but not enough. The world outside felt too loud sometimes. I craved their doubts because they reminded me I was real. I clung to an image of my father standing in the kitchen doorway at 2 a.m., asking if I could please turn the bloody computer off for one night and talk to him instead. But progress has its own gravity. My team grew. The project widened: London, then Germany, Boston, Singapore. After 6 years, my trial landed the headline slot at the International Biotech Summit. For one afternoon, anyway, my name ran underneath newsreader scripts. The lab's phone rang for weeks. The government health secretary wrote me a letter and suggested we meet. I got my own corner office with windows, a gold chip keycard, enough grant money to never count another pound for rent in my life. And still the messages home were stilted, awkward, or silent. Every Christmas I sent a card and a check, addressed to the whole family, unsigned except for a scribbled "Hope you're well, harsh Roman 20. I told myself I'd go back when I had something concrete, something bigger than news clippings or email threads, proof that no one could ignore. The moment finally came after a phone call that caught me in the middle of crunching neural pathway activation rates. Chloe rang, rare, urgent, "Mum's not well, harsh, some infection could go bad. Maybe you should come." I left the code running and went home. Stepping inside after so long sounded like the chorus of 100 dinners. The ticking radiators, the hush of old shoes on the staircase. Dad had grown leaner, lined. Chloe and Jamie seemed both strangers and not. Mum, frail but smiling beneath thick blankets, reached for me like I hadn't disappeared for close to a decade. "You're back," she croaked, gripping my hand. "Missed you, love." I sat by her bed for hours, telling her small, real things. What I ate for lunch, how cold the labs could be, the way London's sky always seemed to withhold just enough light to keep you guessing the hour. Dad hovered, silent, always just out of reach. Chloe prowled the kitchen, radiating skepticism. In the late evening, as rain ticked against the windows, Dad finally spoke. "We watched some TV thing about AI doctors last week. Some bloke, Indian fella guy's a right genius, they said. You could do something like that, maybe." My throat tightened. I realized he didn't know, he hadn't seen my name. Or if he had, he didn't connect it with me. I fished my phone from my coat, brought up the video link, the health secretary's official notification. I placed the phone on the table between us. Dad squinted. Chloe leaned forward. On the screen, my image flickered, older, sharper-jawed, the soft, tentative stammer in my voice now replaced by a calm certainty. The health secretary sat beside me, describing the clinical trial I'd led across 3 continents. Chloe's mouth dropped into a half-frown. "Wait, that's you." I nodded, watching their faces, skepticism crumbling, replaced by something else, part fear, part awe. I couldn't read Dad's expression, it flickered between pride and confusion. The piece rolled on, showing patient interviews, people whose chronic illnesses had eased, whose mobility returned after decades, graphs and projections for global impact, my project. My name not just a footnote but as principal investigator and architect. Dad leaned back, jaw slack, looking at me as though he'd never really seen me at all. "You did this?" he asked softly. "It's my team's work, but yes." Chloe reached out, touching the edge of the phone like it might be hot. "You never said, why didn't you say?" "I tried," I said, voice trembling. "You just laughed. Or told me to be practical." A long silence filled the kitchen. Jamie, grown now, nodded like he'd always known. "Knew you'd do something mad, bruv." Mum, eyes shining, whispered, "We're proud of you." The words didn't come easily, but the weight in them made me want to cry. Dad looked at me, the storm gone from his eyes, just hurt and hope. "I was scared for you," he said, as though forcing every syllable out. "Scared you'd waste yourself. World can be cruel to dreamers. Didn't want you broken." Maybe I doubted because I couldn't dream like that myself. For the first time, the sting of all those dinners, all those chilly rejections started to thaw. We sat together the rest of that night, watching video clips, reading articles. Even Chloe started firing off questions. "So what's next? Are you like really rich now?" I laughed, shaking my head. Mum drifted off to sleep, still holding my hand. Dad poured each of us a glass of his best whiskey and raised it in a silent toast, one that tasted for the first time of genuine respect. That weekend I stayed. We cooked together, me and Chloe bickering over the onions, Jamie showing off new cycling tricks in the garden, Dad repairing the wonky shed door with the kind of determination that had always run just beneath his worry. Mum, recovering, beamed from the window. On Sunday the neighbours came round for tea, the Shahs 2 doors down, old Mrs. Havisham still sharp as vinegar. Chloe couldn't resist. She thrust me forward, phone in hand, playing the announcement, proud in a way she'd never been before. "Our Harsh," she grinned. "He's gone and changed the whole bloody world." I saw the skepticism melt from their eyes too, doubt giving way to pride, small talk replaced by real questions. Mrs. Havisham squeezed my arm. "Thought your head was in the clouds all those years. Turns out you brought a bit of the sky back for us." As night fell and the house emptied, I found myself outside on the back step, watching the yellow spill from the kitchen window. Chloe joined me, hands jammed in her pockets. "Sorry I was a cow," she said, shoving at my arm. "Didn't get it, didn't see how much it mattered." "We're family," I said, trying not to let my voice crack. "We do what we know." She nodded, eyes wet. "Don't disappear again, yeah." I promised, and I meant it. I stayed for the better part of a month, slipping quietly into home routines, fixing the router, helping Jamie with maths. Cooking with Dad, who now, with a baffled pride, encouraged my experiments with spices no British fridge should legally contain. Mum, growing stronger, watched with open joy, but the labs kept calling. There was more work to be done, more trials, new treatments to launch. Still, I wasn't running anymore. I knew now, the point of fighting for your dream isn't only to succeed, sometimes it's to bring that success home and help the people you love see just how big the world can be. The night before I left, my father put a hand on my shoulder. "You've always had more courage than I gave you credit for," he said. "Don't let old men like me make you small." He grinned, thin and real. "Come back more often. Teach your brother how to see beyond the end of the street." I nodded, tears prickling. "I will." Stepping out into the city that morning, I felt different, not weightless, not heavy, but balanced. Steel in my spine, tenderness in my heart. The world ahead and behind fuller than I'd ever dared hope.